I 43F, have 2 children. Sarah 17F and Aiden 15 male. 9 years ago, my late husband passed away in a fatal car crash. I was devastated. I was afraid for my kids to grow up without a father, and I was afraid to be alone. Luckily, my family stepped up. My brother-in-law acted as a surrogate father for my kids. My sister and Bill do not have kids of their own, but were happy to help us out. 5 years ago, I met my now husband 47 meters and his daughter, Elizabeth 17F, at a friend's housewarming party. I was hesitant to date again, but I took things slow, making sure he was a good man to be around my kids. I discussed my kids' feelings with them along every important milestone and made sure they were comfortable with my husband and stepdaughter. When he proposed, and I spoke to my kids about how they felt, only one request, the promise, was made. I would make sure that my kids and I had time together, just the 3 of us still. I agreed to take my children out twice a month, just the 3 of us, with exceptions if need be. As my kids remember their father, and Elizabeth's mother was still in her life, we made a rule that neither of us would try to be parents to our stepkids. We are responsible for our bio kids. This was discussed with all the children together. Our kids are also allowed to choose how they feel about one another, whether or not they wished for a sibling relationship or something else. It's not up for my husband and I to decide. Back to present time, I still regularly take my kids out twice a month for an adventure with the 3 of us. This could be going out to dinner, a movie, the zoo, etc. I also take Elizabeth with me for some things, such as getting our nails done, shopping, volunteering. Sometimes my kids will come along as well. My husband and I are still responsible for our own kids. We parent them differently, but that's what is causing the problems. We are each in charge of grades, party planning, rewards, punishments, special parent-child time, chore lists, curfews/rules. The issue is, I am far more active in my kids' lives than my husband is. I regularly celebrate my children, go to all their events, keep on top of their grades. I know where my kids are, I listen to their concerns, and speak about their lives. My husband doesn't do those things for my stepdaughter. I think I underestimated how much this is creating tension between our kids. Elizabeth and Aiden don't interact with one another. Elizabeth and Sarah absolutely despise one another. Sarah and Aiden are best friends. My husband came to me yesterday and said we needed to talk about how Sarah and Aiden, mostly Sarah, treat Elizabeth. He pointed out several instances of exclusionary behavior. Such as, Sarah driving Aiden around but not Elizabeth. Sarah and Aiden deciding to have the 2 bedrooms across the house from Sarah. Originally Aiden and Elizabeth would have had them, Sarah not inviting Elizabeth on her birthday trip to Cedar Point despite them having the same friend group. Sarah spending money buying Aiden gifts but not Elizabeth. Aiden refusing to allow Elizabeth to use his technology. Sarah and Aiden only doing things Elizabeth doesn't enjoy while at home or stopping when Elizabeth wants to join. Aiden refusing to cook for Elizabeth. Sarah buying all 3 of them locks for their bedroom doors, which my husband claims was only to make it look like Sarah did something nice for Elizabeth. My husband claimed that I was the cause of this problem by setting the example of excluding Elizabeth with the promise I made to my kids. He demands that I stop the practice and start to treat Elizabeth like my own kid. I said no, as that is not part of our agreement. Elizabeth isn't the one asking me, he isn't willing to step up and act as a father to my kids, and my children come first. I will always make them feel valued. I'm the only one who ever plans anything for the kids. Since we've bought a house together, he has only planned birthday parties for Elizabeth. Nothing else. He doesn't plan family trips, dinners, celebratory events, none of that. I know he won't put in any effort for my kids as he barely does for his own. When I brought this up to him in the past, he said it's not my problem and reminds me of our agreement. Oh, and since I didn't add it in, I'm going to speak to both of my kids separately and then together to get to the bottom of their behavior. So Ida for refusing to break the promise to my kids? Update 1. A lot has happened in that time. First I want to address some information that was previously left out in my original post. It seems I am not a very good writer. I also apologize in advance for using a lot of lists in this post, it helps me think to have things written out. 1. Aiden is a boy. I accidentally wrote 15F, but I fixed that. My mistake. 2. Both my husband and I were unaware of the dynamic in our household. We both work long hours during the week and don't spend much time together at home. For context, my work schedule is 8 to 6 Monday to Thursday, I have Fridays and Sundays off, and the option to come in on Saturdays when I wish to. My kids and I go to sleep around 8 to 9, Elizabeth stays up a little later, and my husband goes to sleep around 7. He works 12-hour shifts from 6 to 6 every day and wakes up for work around 5. He also has Fridays and Sundays off. I usually plan for the weekends on Monday, which we typically are out of the house for. We as in me, always, my kids, stepdaughter, and hubby. 3. I do spend time with my stepdaughter, as stated in the previous post. 4. My husband and Elizabeth have different ideas of spending time together. For me and my kids, it's getting out of the house. For those 2, it's staying home, playing board games or watching a movie. This activity started because my husband wasn't in a good financial situation post-divorce and he couldn't afford to take her out often. So they did spend a lot of time together. 5. Elizabeth's mother, Bailey, is in jail and has been for 5 months. She committed a small crime and was sentenced to a year. She keeps in contact with Elizabeth via phone calls, letters, and visitation. Saturdays are usually spent now with me and Elizabeth going to visit Bailey, unless I need to work. Her father doesn't bring her. 6. My kids and Elizabeth did get along. The exclusion doesn't happen during family trips or when I'm around. 7. Sarah has a car but Elizabeth doesn't, though she has a license. Sarah has been working since she was 15 and I agreed that I would pay half plus insurance, while Sarah pays the other half plus gas. 8. Aiden was also not on the Cedar Point trip. I paid for most of the cost but Sarah helped and a lot of the other girls' parents plus kids chipped in as well. 9. I am more strict with my kids than my husband is with Elizabeth. They have a curfew, great expectations, safety regulations, etc. I think that's it, but I might add some if I think of anything else. I am also going to address the previous points. These are not justifications, just how I see them along with more clarification. Sarah driving Aiden around but not Elizabeth. Aiden does not have a license and has multiple outside activities. Elizabeth drives either mine or my husband's car. Sarah and Aiden deciding to have the 2 bedrooms across the house from Sarah. Originally Aiden and Elizabeth would have had them. Our house has 2 master bedrooms and 2 regular bedrooms. Sarah was going to have one of the masters, but she insisted Elizabeth take it, her reasoning being she won't have to share a bathroom with her stepbrother. The 2 masters are on the main floor, the regular rooms are on the second floor. Literally just a hallway with bedrooms and a bathroom. Sarah not inviting Elizabeth on her birthday trip to Cedar Point despite them having the same friend G. Roop. Said in point 8 Sarah spending money buying Aiden gifts but not Elizabeth. I don't see a problem with this. Sarah earns her own money, she can spend it as she pleases. Aiden refusing to allow Elizabeth to use his technology. He and Sarah are both gamers but Aiden is 10x more invested in it than Sarah. Sarah and Aiden only doing things Elizabeth doesn't enjoy while at home or stopping when Elizabeth wants to join. Not sure but defo not okay. Aiden refusing to cook for Elizabeth. Aiden cooked a lot as a kid and developed a passion for it. He cooks dinner for the entire fam, including Elizabeth, and will cook separate things on Sarah's request, like lunch or breakfast, and she will also buy him ingredients for new recipes either of them wish to try. Sarah buying all 3 of them locks for their bedroom doors, which my husband claims was only to make it look like Sarah did something nice for Elizabeth. This one I also see no issue with. Privacy is important and all 3 install their locks. Update 2. I spoke with all 3 kids last night separately and told them all to write a list of things they want to address in today's family meeting. I found out a lot that absolutely shocked me when I spoke privately. For the family meeting, we all sat down in the living room. I asked Elizabeth to speak first, since she is the one who is upset and without explanation for her behavior. She reiterated the statements above, and added some things on her list. Elizabeth's list: movie nights upstairs without her, refusing to drive her to school / leaving without her. Refusing to even attempt a sibling relationship with her. Putting locks on their doors and using the bathroom to be able to visit each other / hang out. Gaming without her. Elizabeth said she felt as if they hated her and wanted her gone. She said she is just as worthy of a parent as Sarah and Aiden were, and how it's unfair that we get to be a family and she doesn't have one. Sarah, very rudely, asked if she honestly felt she has any less of a family than she and Aiden do. Elizabeth was going to say something else, but my husband stepped in and asked Sarah to read her list. Though Sarah told me last night about what Elizabeth had been doing, I didn't expect how bluntly she would bring it up. Sarah's list: breaking into their bedrooms and stealing their stuff / food. Insisting on sharing clothes / matching. Insisting on a sibling relationship when already declined by both. Following her around school and forcing herself into Sarah's friend group despite being told multiple times to leave them alone. Threatening to go to teachers / me and hubby if they didn't. Stealing and then ruining Sarah's makeup. Telling my kids they should be happy their father died because now they have her dad and a sister. Making inappropriate comments towards anime characters out loud while watching together, this includes minors, insisting Aiden has a crush on her. Getting handset with Aiden and then getting defensive when Sarah intervenes / calls her out for doing so. This is the real reason Sarah insisted on the bedroom situation, purchasing 2 fun items and giving one to Sarah after she confessed to a crush on TV. Throwing a fit whenever she loses in a game or any form of competition. Refuses to study / spend time on school and then complaining when she doesn't get good grades. Expecting me to step up and do everything for her, even though I do not do those things for even my own kids, instead of her father. Constantly being late getting ready for school and then being upset they don't wait for her. Flirting with Sarah's boyfriend at the time because sisters share everything. Refusing to get a job or do anything worthwhile while being jealous of both kids' accomplishments. When she was done, I asked Aiden if Elizabeth was really trying to touch him. He didn't answer at first, but after a moment said yes. Elizabeth denied it immediately, but Sarah shut her down and said she wasn't finished. A king. Sarah told Elizabeth that she was a disgusting human being, that she thinks she can get away with anything she wants but she can't. None of their friends like her and wouldn't be around her if Elizabeth didn't make them. That she was spoiled and entitled. That if she ever tried to do anything with her brother, Sarah and everyone else would make her life living hell. I stopped Sarah there, as I don't tolerate threats of violence. Elizabeth said it's not fair, that she and Sarah have similar interests, and that she's only treated worse because she's ugly and Sarah isn't. When you do it, it's cool. When I do it, it's trashy and weird. Sarah argued back, saying it doesn't have anything to do with her looks, she's just a bad person. Elizabeth brought up how Sarah is the bad one, purposefully excluding her, spending time with me separately, refusing to acknowledge her in the house she lives in, refusing to accept her and her father as family, that they both lost a parent. Sarah, my dad is dead. He's never coming back. Your mom is in jail. You speak with her daily. See her every week. It's not the same at all. Elizabeth, it is the same. I share my dad, you're just bitching that you have to share your mom now. Sarah, at least my dad didn't choose to leave me. Your mom had a choice and I can see why she chose it. Elizabeth slapped Sarah. Aiden punched Elizabeth. Husband shoved Aiden into a mirror hung on the wall. I started screaming at my husband to keep his hands off of my children while telling my kids to go pack a bag. Kids ran off, Elizabeth followed them, husband and I were screaming at each other. I could hear Elizabeth pounding on their doors and crying. After a lot of yelling my husband slapped me, then Sarah started screaming at Elizabeth. Apparently Aiden was putting the bags in the car, and the girls disappeared. I found them in my bedroom fighting because Sarah was packing a bag for me. I told Sarah to go wait in the car while I pack. She hissed. Antley obeyed. I packed my bag while husband and Elizabeth were screaming at me, then left. Sarah was on the curb in the driver's seat, so I let her drive away and then told her to switch with me. My son had to be taken to the hospital as the mirror had cut him. Aiden needed 17 stitches and has a concussion. I am pressing charges against my husband and filing for separation and divorce immediately. I'm currently writing this from our hotel room. I spoke to Sarah and asked why she didn't bring any of this up previously. She told me that Elizabeth only started acting like that after husband had already proposed, and both she and Aiden wanted me to be happy, because they'd seen how depressed I was after my late husband died. This obviously broke my heart. I told her, and later Aiden, that they are my happiness. Sarah argued and said that since I'd made so many sacrifices it's only fair that they did too. I promised her that she never needs to sacrifice anything for me, as I am their mother. Sarah started crying, apologizing and just saying how she never meant for me to lose another husband and that she never would have let Aiden get hurt. I kept reassuring her the whole ride to our hotel. My kids are asleep now. I'm scared. Neither husband nor Elizabeth has contacted me. I'm not sure if I want them to. Now on to second story. Childhood friend demands I move out of our shared apartment because his girlfriend thinks I walked in on them having intimacy on purpose. So I, 21F, have been friends with 21 male, Mike, for 16 years. We became friends officially in kindergarten but our parents were college friends. I honestly can't even call him a best friend, he's like a sibling, and in a way we were raised as siblings. Group family holidays, sleepovers, family vacations on both sides. At one point we even all lived together for a year. I'm saying this because I know some people will ask. No, there's been no crushes or feelings on either side, at all. We haven't kissed, confess, feelings or had crushes. It's been strictly sibling-like, and I'm saying that now because of what Mike's girlfriend has been saying. Me and Mike share an apartment together near campus as we both attend college together. Around 7 months ago, Mike met his girlfriend, 21F April, fake name. Now, I thought we got along okay. I've only met her a couple of times because she has anxiety, but I had no problem at all with her until recently besides some minor things. Sometimes, she would interject when Mike would call me his sister. It wasn't always, but normally like well, technically you aren't siblings which is 100% true, but it's how we viewed each other since we were kids. So almost a month ago, my class got cancelled so I came home early. I walk in and right on the couch is Mike and April having sex. I scream, run to my room and frantically yell at Mike via text. He apologized, said he thought I would be gone longer. I made him clean the couch. All good, right? No, April for some reason got upset, and felt that, her words, I did that on purpose, despite it never happening before, and that it was inappropriate of me to walk in on them. Again, this was in the living room, absolutely disgusting in my opinion, but I moved on. Because it's not a big deal, embarrassing, but nothing crazy. Anyway, Mike has been stressed recently because April had been asking him to distance from me. I thought she was just embarrassed, which I'd understand, so I tried being friendly and apologized. Well, last weekend, Mike sat me down and basically said that I had to move out, because his girlfriend was upset with me living with him. I was floored. I got so upset, I don't think I've yelled and cried that much in my life. The basics is that he doesn't want me to, but he's pressured from his girlfriend and he really loves her, so he wants to make her happy. He thinks that this shouldn't change our friendship and that he's just putting some distance between us. See, if he had asked me to move out, I'd understand. Okay, yeah, maybe you want to take your relationship to the next level, okay. But it was a demand. And not only that, he wanted to put space between our friendship. It was so fucking hurtful. I've known him for 16 years and that's it? I'm gone for someone he's known for 7 months? I said he was choosing a short relationship over his sister, and that I don't want him to contact me if he's going to be like that. He said I was overreacting, but I called my parents and got them to pick me up literally. Thank God they don't live far away, but like, what if they did? What did he expect me to fucking do? Just sleep outside or something? Anyway, I obviously had to tell my parents what was going on given they had to pick me up and I was an emotional mess. I told them everything, which caused a bit of an argument when they went to pick up some of my things the next day. They called Mike's parents and kind of chewed them out a little, and from my understanding they called Mike and did the same. Mike messaged me to say that he was upset I couldn't be civil and that he feels like I am throwing away a friendship. I blocked him shortly after. I've taken some time off classes but I'm so fucking hurt and upset. It hurts that he could just throw me away so easily. I don't think I did anything wrong telling my parents, but I think it may have crossed a line when they phoned Mike's parents. Like I said previously, our parents are really close, and it's kind of messed with their friendship now. His parents have been really kind and apologetic, even though it's not their fault, and a part of me feels like I made this into a bigger mess. Sorry if it's a bit chaotic, I'm on phone and still a bit emotional. Also, I know I didn't have to leave. Me and Mike both pay an equal amount of rent for the apartment, but I didn't want to stay in a place that I wasn't wanted. It would have just made it difficult and worst case scenario, he'd leave which would have put a financial rain on me. Edit, I read you all loud and clear. Thank you for waking my ass up. I've talked to my landlord. She said that she was uncomfortable with April moving in because she doesn't know her. I understood, so I am moving my ass back tomorrow. I unblocked Mike and informed him. I explained that until our landlord says otherwise, I'm staying. Either he can leave and get a new place and keep paying the rent, or we can end our agreement together, and if our landlord agrees they can start one. He replied okay, we can talk about it tomorrow so, we see. Thank you all so much for getting me up and going. I really had no idea how serious this situation could be until you all let me know how stupid I was being. I don't care if it's uncomfortable, I'm not wasting my money. Update 1. I was hesitant to even upload on Reddit but I'm really glad I did. I honestly can't believe how naive I was and you all probably saved me a lot of trouble so, onto the update. I came back to the apartment yesterday morning. I let Mike know beforehand and asked if April not be there so we could talk alone. Mike was quite emotional and apologetic which surprised me a little. I found out a bit more information that makes a bit more sense now. Mike has been under a lot of pressure for a while now to drop me. He thought that me moving out and distancing himself would be enough to appease April while still keeping our friendship. Obviously he didn't expect me to take it the way I did, although what other way would I take it? And he didn't expect me to leave that day. I mean yeah, he didn't specifically say pack your shit and leave now, but saying you need to leave. And saying that he wanted distance over our 16-year relationship out of nowhere makes me feel like I couldn't have just gone to bed normally, you know? I've read everyone's comments so many times, I've drilled it into my head, so as much as it hurts, I'm keeping my distance from Mike at the moment. The fact that he never once told me about April wanting him to not talk to me, and he didn't even consider my circumstances before asking me to leave, where else could I go? It's not a definite end of our friendship, but I'm not feeling pretty positive. Anyway, he's apologized, he said that he missed me while I was gone and that he knew he fucked up after he told me to leave, but that he just wanted to make April happy since he could see a future with her. April has lost her shit, to put it mildly, and she threw up a storm in the lobby of our apartment last night. Mike refused to let her in, which understandably made her lose her shit even more. Tons of colorful words thrown about on both ends. I'm a homewrecker, a whore, a bitch, which is laughable. Anyway, she's not to be allowed into our apartment now period, at least until he decides on their relationship. Mike has been pretty upset today. He wants space from April because he said that he wants to end the relationship. Very surprising, but I'm cautiously optimistic, since I'm not sure how willing he'll be. We've had a bit of a heart-to-heart. Regardless of how upset and hurt I am, he's my brother. I'm trying to be a bitch like I wanted to when I moved back in, but it's so fucking hard when he's all mopey and sad. I told him that if he continues seeing her, I'm putting some distance between us respectfully to avoid this happening again. He said he doesn't want that. I talked with my landlord before moving back. She didn't want April moving in as she doesn't know her. She was a bit upset that this situation was happening as she didn't want drama, which I understand. I've moved back and I've discussed the lease with Mike. We renew in September, or that was the plan, so now we're deciding on how to go ahead. I feel like it'll be best for me to get my own place. Maybe this was long overdue to be honest, although Mike is saying that he wants us to continue being roommates next year, so we're discussing this at the moment. It's not really a super dramatic update, but at least the leasing issue has been solved. I'm not being kicked out or leaving until our lease is done. April isn't coming over for the foreseeable future. Only issue right now is my relationship with Mike. It's very awkward in the apartment. You can tell something's changed. He's been trying to be friendly like we were before all of this, and he's apologized a lot, which I appreciate. But I'm finding it a bit difficult to move on and go back to normal. I'm not being a bitch or mean, just slightly distant. Anyway, that's the update. I really want to thank you all again for making me realize how serious this could be. I honestly had no idea that you couldn't just switch who was renting, which is so embarrassing. Also, to that one woman in my DMs and comments spam messaging me, you're insane. I don't know who hurt you, but get a life please. This isn't even that serious. As a mom, I like you two being roommates because you're less likely to have trouble with aggressive men. I'm a girl mom and think of these things. For Mike, it's a great way to judge as the woman he is dating is psycho. Skeptical oop, honestly that was one of the main reasons why we moved in together when we started college. Mike and my family was worried about me having a place to myself, and Mike's parents wanted me to keep an eye on him.